Today on Who is That Saint? Meet the man who begged in the streets of Rome, not for himself but for Christ. Saint Felix of Cantalice was the first Capuchin Franciscan ever to be canonized. He wore a tattered habit, walked barefoot, carried a sack, and radiated joy so contagious, people crossed the street just to be near him. He wasn't a preacher. He wasn't a scholar. But he turned the streets into a sanctuary and poverty into a pulpit. Felix was born in 1515 in the small Italian town of Cantalice, to poor but devout farmers. From a young age he worked in the fields, lived simply and developed a deep hunger for God. As a young man while plowing a field his horses spooked, and his leg was crushed. It nearly killed him. During his recovery he realized life was short, eternity was real and comfort was a distraction. So, naturally he joined the Capuchin Franciscans, a strict reform branch of the Franciscans known for radical poverty and prayer. He wasn't ordained. He didn't want to be. He took the role of lay brother and was quickly assigned one of the humblest jobs in the order. Quaestor, the guy who walks around begging for food and donations to support the friars. For most people that's humiliating. For Felix, it was heaven. He took to the streets of Rome, barefoot and beaming, carrying a sack and a wooden cross, greeting everyone he saw with his trademark phrase, Deo gratias. Thanks be to God. That's what people started calling him, Brother Deo gratias. He didn't just collect food. He gave smiles, encouragement and sometimes gentle correction. He visited hospitals, homes and shops, reminding people of God by just showing up with peace in his eyes. Felix didn't avoid the powerful either. He once walked into the palace of Cardinal Farnese and scolded the household for its extravagance. When asked who gave him permission he replied, "My superior is Christ. He gave me permission." Rome loved him. Children followed him through the streets. The poor trusted him. Even popes listened to him. He became close friends with Saint Philip Neri, and the two were known for their holy mischief and mutual respect. They were like a spiritual buddy comedy, one with wild charisma, Philip, the other with gentle grit, Felix. Felix was also deeply mystical. He would fall into prayer while walking. He had visions of Christ and Our Lady, often during Mass or while praying the Rosary. But he never made it about himself. He once said, "The love of God is so sweet, it makes all suffering light." That wasn't just talk. Felix suffered bodily illness, spiritual dryness, and exhaustion. But you'd never know it. He never complained. Never stopped. Never gave up the sack. After over 40 years as Rome's barefoot friar, Felix died on May 18, 1587, in the friary he had served so faithfully. The people of Rome lined the streets for his funeral. His tomb quickly became a site of pilgrimage. He was canonized in 1712 by Pope Clement XI, the first Capuchin to be raised to the altars. And here's what makes him matter today. He didn't chase a platform. He didn't have a 5-year plan. He didn't argue theology on street corners. He just loved God, carried a sack and lived like Christ was everything. In a world obsessed with climbing, Felix knelt. In a culture driven by taking, Felix begged and gave. He is now the patron saint of quaestors, friars who collect alms, beggars and the city of Rome. And if you've ever felt unseen in your work, or like your little acts of faith aren't enough, Saint Felix of Cantalice would look you in the eye and say, Deo gratias. Because what you're doing, if it's done with love, is already enough. Saint Felix of Cantalice reminds us that joy is a witness. Holiness is loudest when it's humble. And the ones who change the world are usually the ones no one's watching. He didn't preach in cathedrals, but the streets of Rome called him a saint before the church ever did. Quote of the day. Thanks be to God. Saint Felix of Cantalice.